Welcome. What I would like to do to you in the next 10 minutes or so is just explain and overview the Marxist boat analogy. Now, this boat analogy has sort of appeared maybe potentially for you in education. If it hasn't, don't panic, you will explore it a little bit more next year as well. But I wanted to use this to try and overview the Marxist views on the family and how this fits in with the wider thinking of Marxism. Now, the first thing I'd like to do is just explain the boat itself, the center of this image. Now, the boat analogy is this idea that society is like a boat. And if we break the boat into two parts, we have the base of the boat, which sits on the water, keeps the boat floating. This is the bottom half of the boat. And this is what we are going to refer to as the infrastructure, or sometimes referred to as the economic base. So this relates to our economy. So how money is produced and the money producing elements of our society. Now, within Marxism, as we've explored before, the working class are the ones doing all the hard work, just like these two little chaps at the bottom of the boat. They are doing the hard work. They are keeping the boat going. The ruling class, as you can see up here, loving it on top deck, driving the boat forward, but not really doing anything much to contribute to its workings, other than just reaping the benefits of that sunny breeze and enjoying his last little glass of wine. So this is the economic base, the infrastructure, and this is what keeps society going. And our society, as you know, is based on capitalism. Now, Marxists do not like this, they don't like capitalism, but that's what our society is based on. That's what's keeping this boat afloat. Now, the top half of the boat, up here, where the steering wheel is, where the ruling class are driving the direction, this is what we call the superstructure. This is the top half of the boat. And this is really about where ideas and values are created. So the economic base is about making money, keeping the economy and the structure of society working. The superstructure is where all the ideas and values, all the norms, all the ideas that we're taught through different institutions come from and where they're created. Now, within this boat analogy, these two half chunks of the boat have separate tasks, but they need to work together. So if you've got the bottom half of the boat, it will stay afloat, but it won't go anywhere. If you've got the top half of the boat, it can't float and survive by itself, but it can direct the way society works. So they need to work together. They need to be united and tied to one another. So what happens if we go with point one is that the economy is working. Capitalism is working. They want to keep this going, and it communicates with the superstructure. So the infrastructure communicates with the superstructure. So as you can see here, capitalism is great, let's keep this going. Infrastructure responds with, yep, okay, sorted, we'll spread the word, we'll keep this going. So this is where the ideas, the values take part. And this is institutions like the media, education, the government, laws, the families, religion, employment, all of these parts of the superstructure are spreading those ideas. And this is where our first two key thinkers come in. So we have Zaretsky and we have Dontalot. Now, Zaretsky says that the family supports capitalism by ensuring that men come home and are de-stressed and prevents disruption to capitalism. So Zaretsky talks about this idea of the family being a safe haven or a buffer zone where tired, frustrated, angry men can come home to their family, have some control because they are the leaders of the home. They can be de-stressed, calm down and relax. And this means that all their anger and frustration is vented towards their family, their wife and lost. And this helps capitalism in the long run because it means that those men do not remain angry when they return to work and vent their frustrations at their employer. Now, if you imagine thousands of men, all angry, tired of being exploited by their boss, being given low pay, being made to work long hours, if they got angry and directed their frustration at the employer, that could lead to a revolution, that could lead to strikes, that could disrupt the ruling class's ability to make money. So by calming the men down, the family helps capitalism. This is very similar to Parsons. Parsons saying the family acts as a warm bath. It's a very similar idea. Men come home stressed and angry, but rather than stabilizing the adult personality, from a Marxist point of view, this is to benefit capitalism. The family is also a unit of consumption. Again, an idea we know talked about with Parsons. The family buy products. Children have this notion of pester power. They can encourage parents to buy and consume products. So again, the family is calming men down to help capitalism, but is also buying products that feeds into capitalism. Donzelot also talks about how the family is an ideological, has an ideological function. So again, families that are not working properly, that are not performing roles, as Zaretsky highlights, are identified as a failing, and capitalist states will step in and intervene. So doctors, social workers, these kind of potential middle class individuals working on behalf of the government will intervene and fix the families that are broken, that are not performing their job. Because obviously within a Marxist structure, the role of the family is to reinforce the views of capitalism. So families not doing that are fixed. So this brings us to our superstructure at the top here. As I say, this is the part of society which drives us forward, that pushes capitalism through institutions like the family, education, the media, and it teaches us to accept capitalism, to help capitalism. Now, all these institutions in the middle are reinforcing capitalism. So you've got the economic base down at the bottom here, working hard to keep the economy, to keep capitalism going. The institutions are then spreading that information, so it's moving up through the infrastructure into the superstructure, and then what happens is it comes out the top of the chimney on top of this boat. And this is where we see our next concept, the false class consciousness. So just like smoke coming out of this boat, it blinds us, it makes it hard to see, obscures what's really happening. And what we have here is the thinker Althusser. Now he says the family is an ISA, exactly the same idea that he introduced in education. He's just literally changed the word education to family. So the family is an ISA. It teaches us that capitalism is good. It reinforces, it reproduces and legitimates capitalism. Now in education, that was done through the way that schools were organised, the respect for hierarchy, that reproduced and legitimated the division of rich and poor and the skills we needed. The family does this as well. We are taught to accept hierarchy. The parents are in charge. They have the power. We're reinforced and encouraged to buy and consume. So that just like Zaretsky and Donzelot have highlighted, the family is helping capitalism, and it's reinforcing and teaching us that capitalism is a good thing, that we should accept it, we should keep it going. So this is the false consciousness. We are led to believe that capitalism is good for us and that we need it, but reality-wise, it disadvantages it. We were just we're confirming and reinforcing our own inequality and subordination. So because the false consciousness and Althusser, we believe capitalism is good. This, at point 5, creates the division. We have the rich and the poor, or the fancy Marxist words of bourgeoisie and proletariat. That means basically the ruling class and the working class, or the owners and the workers. This creates this division. And again, this is all one group. So poor proletariat, who are working class individuals and working in the factories. And then you've got the rich, the bourgeoisie, or the ruling class, and they own the means of production, the factories where people work. Now, Engels pops up here when he talked about monogamous nuclear families. And he said that the idea of inheritance developed to ensure that wealth was passed down through the rich. So men would agree to only sleep with one woman. Any children she had were biologically going to be his. He would look after that female for life, so she became looked after. She benefited from the arrangement. And then what would happen is any money would be passed down to the children of the bourgeoisie. And it's meant the rich remained rich. It prevented the poor getting hold of any of that cash. So again, this continued the division in society. Now, division benefits capitalism for point 6 because it ensures that we have the workers and the owners. The rich stay rich, the poor stay poor. Society remains divided in two. And because we have the division, that means that capitalism is still strong, that the economic base of society remains as capitalism, because we've not seen a revolution, we've not seen capitalism overthrown, so capitalism stays fixed in place, and the whole cycle begins again. And this happens after generation after generation after generation, keeping capitalism fixed. The only way we would see this happen or a change take place was if one of these elements, there was a revolution or there was some kind of change. But ultimately, the idea of the boat analogy is that until there's some significant change either in the economy or in the superstructure or even in the way that, you know, the false class consciousness is kind of broken and lifted, none of this will change. Okie dokie. So hopefully, again, this is just a brief overview of the Marxist thinkers and how they fit within the idea of the family reinforcing capitalism. The key thinkers we've got are Zaretsky, the buffer zone, safe haven, and children reinforcing pester power. Donzelot, so if families are not functioning for the good of capitalism, the state will intervene, take the children away, put them into families which are better suited to the workings of capitalism. Althusser talks about how the family is an ideological state apparatus, reinforces that capitalism is good, we need it, we follow it, we learn to accept it. And then that creates the division which Engels discussed when he talked about the monogamous nuclear family. That means that wealth is passed down the rich, the poor don't get any, the rich stay rich, the poor stay poor, and the two remain divided. And that, again, is essential for capitalism to survive. As always, hopefully this summarises some of the key fingers. If you're unsure or unfamiliar about any of this material, please contact your teachers, have a chat with them, and thank you for listening.